Claire Donovan had just pulled into the driveway when she saw Karen Appleby standing at the edge of her lawn like a judgmental garden gnome, arms crossed, foot tapping. It was the kind of tapping that meant trouble, the rapid-fire, irritated beat of someone building a case inside her own head. Claire considered staying in the car until Karen gave up, but the groceries in the back seat were already sweating. She braced herself and got out. The humid afternoon air pressed down on her as she lifted 2 heavy bags from the trunk. She'd made it only halfway up the walkway when Karen swooped in with the precision of a hawk spotting prey. "Excuse me, Claire!" Karen's voice was shrill enough to startle a flock of birds from a nearby oak tree. Here we go, Claire thought, plastering on a polite smile. "Hi, Karen. Something I can help you with?" Karen marched across the lawn, clutching her HOA-issued clipboard like it was a badge of authority. She wore her usual uniform, a pastel sweater draped around her shoulders despite the 90-degree weather, khaki capris, and a pair of sunglasses that made her look like a disappointed elementary school principal. "I've been trying to reach you." Karen's tone carried the weight of imminent disaster. "You haven't answered my calls. I was grocery shopping," Claire said, lifting the bag slightly. "What's going on?" Karen huffed dramatically, flipping through her clipboard until she found the sheet she wanted. "We have rules in this neighborhood, Claire, and today, one of them was very much broken." Claire blinked. "Okay, which one?" "The rule," Karen said, her voice rising as if she were declaring a national emergency, "that requires all new residents to submit occupancy paperwork before moving in." It took Claire a second to process this new, what Karen nobody knew moved in. Karen's chin jutted forward triumphantly, as though she had caught Claire in a lie. "Don't play games with me. I saw her. The woman who walked into your house this morning?" "Her?" Claire echoed. "Yes, her. Dark hair, uniform-like clothing, very suspicious. She entered your home without checking in at the main office. The HOA doesn't have a main office, Karen. It will once the board approves the budget," Karen snapped. She took a breath, collecting herself. "Now, I need her name to update the records. And she cannot stay here until she fills out the proper forms." Claire's eyebrow twitched. "You mean, my wife?" Karen's face froze. Not from surprise, more from offense. "Yes, her, that's what I said. She didn't sign anything. She didn't notify us. She didn't even introduce herself to me. Karen held up a hand, cutting Claire off as if she were a misbehaving student. "I'm not here to argue. I'm here to enforce community standards." Claire's patience was evaporating as quickly as the condensation on her milk carton. "Karen, my wife isn't a new resident. She's lived here for months. She just works long shifts. That is irrelevant. I did not personally approve her presence." "You don't have to approve." "Wrong," Karen said confidently. "I'm the HOA president. It is my duty, my obligation, to ensure that all residents follow protocol. And right now, she is in violation." Claire opened her mouth, closed it, and tried again. "Karen, with all due respect, the HOA has no legal authority to approve who lives in my home." Karen blinked at her with a mix of disbelief and pity. "Claire, oh, sweetie, of course we do. We really don't." Karen's voice rose an octave. "If you ignore this, I can issue fines. Serious fines. I'm not paying a fine for living with my wife." "You will if you care about property values," Karen snapped. Claire pinched the bridge of her nose. "Please don't do this. Not today." But Karen was no longer listening. Her eyes had narrowed to slits, and she was staring toward the house like a bounty hunter who'd found her mark. "Well, if you won't handle the issue, I will." Before Claire could react, Karen whipped out her phone. It was one of those shiny, newer models, encased in a floral protector that clashed horribly with her outfit. She tapped the screen with manic determination. Claire stepped forward. "Karen, what are you doing?" Karen raised her index finger without looking up. "Shh, official business." "Karen, don't." Too late. Karen pressed the phone to her ear. "Yes, 911?" she said loudly, as though volume equaled importance. "I need officers dispatched immediately. There's an unauthorized woman refusing to leave a residence in Maple Ridge." Claire's jaw fell open. "Karen, oh my God, hang up!" Karen turned away, pacing dramatically in a tight circle as neighbors began peeking through blinds and sliding open windows. Nothing got the Maple Ridge community moving faster than a hint of chaos. "Yes, she's still inside," Karen continued into the phone. "I fear she may be violent. She was wearing some kind of tactical outfit." Claire buried her face in her hands. "It's her uniform." Karen ignored her. Yes, officer, I feel personally threatened. You do not, Claire snapped. Karen glared at her, turning her back again. I'm the HOA president, she said into the phone in the most self-righteous tone imaginable. I am responsible for the well-being of this community. Claire set the grocery bags down with a thud, anger rising like boiling water. Karen, you have no idea what you're doing. Oh, I know exactly what I'm doing, Karen said, ending the call with a flourish. I'm preventing a trespasser from settling into your home without proper authorization. She doesn't need your authorization. We'll let law enforcement decide that. Claire let out a slow, dangerous exhale. Karen had just called the police on the Elena Ruiz, Claire's wife, partner of 17 years, and head of the entire state police force. Karen had no idea how badly she'd just miscalculated. Karen crossed her arms triumphantly. They'll be here any minute. And when they arrive, I expect full cooperation. Claire didn't answer. She simply stared at Karen, pitying her more than resenting her. The consequences would hit soon enough, and when they did, Karen wouldn't know what hit her. The blinds across the street parted again, dogs barked. Someone whispered, Karen's at it again. The neighborhood had transformed into an audience, and Karen, self-important, oblivious Karen, believed she was the star of the show, but the real show was still on its way. The first police cruiser glided around the cul-de-sac with quiet authority, lights off but unmistakable in its presence. A second followed a moment later, tires crunching over the pristine Maple Ridge asphalt. The neighbors, who had already been gathering like moths around the flame of chaos, gravitated closer to their windows and porches. No one wanted to miss Karen Appleby's latest power trip, but this looked bigger. Claire stood on the porch now, arms folded, eyes fixed on the driveway. Her heart was pounding, not from fear, but from the absurdity of the situation. She knew exactly how this was about to go, and she almost felt sorry for what was coming. Almost. The front door opened behind her with a soft creak. Everything okay out there? Elena asked, stepping outside with a mug of coffee in her hand. Steam curled upward in the warm afternoon air. Claire turned. Elena Ruiz was still in uniform, dark hair pulled back, badges gleaming. She looked tired, but that didn't diminish the commanding presence she always carried, tall, poised, and unmistakably in charge of any room she walked into. Claire exhaled. Karen called the police on you. Elena paused mid-sip. On me? She thinks you're an unauthorized occupant. Elena blinked, then let out a slow, incredulous laugh. You're kidding. I wish. Before Elena could respond, Karen stormed across the lawn toward the porch, her clipboard flapping like it was trying to escape. A few neighbors followed at a distance, drawn by the escalating drama. There she is, Karen blurted, voice high with adrenaline. Officers, that's the trespasser. Two officers exited their cruisers. The first, Officer Lang, stopped in his tracks when he recognized who he was looking at. The second, Officer Patel, straightened so fast he nearly dropped his radio. Both men exchanged looks that didn't require words. Elena offered a polite nod. Afternoon, gentlemen. Officer Lang cleared his throat. Captain Ruiz, ma'am, Karen gasped. Captain? No, that's impossible. Patel tried, and failed to stifle a grin. We got a call about a supposed trespasser. That would be me, apparently, Elena said, lifting her mug slightly. Here I am. In my house. This is not her house, Karen snapped, marching right up to Elena with the boldness only ignorance could fuel. She hasn't submitted the mandatory HOA occupancy forms. She didn't notify me she'd be staying here. I run this neighborhood. Elena looked at Claire, then back at Karen. You run the neighborhood? Yes, Karen said, chin high. So, unless you have the paperwork to prove you belong here... Karen, Claire cut in. We own the house, together. Her name is on the deed. Lies, Karen declared. If she lived here, I would know, and she certainly wouldn't dress like that unless she was up to something suspicious. Officer Patel coughed into his sleeve to hide a laugh. Elena tilted her head. This is my work uniform. Karen waved that off. Well, whatever it is, it's intimidating. It's supposed to be, Elena said dryly. Karen pivoted to the officers, her voice shrill with fake urgency. Arrest her! Remove her! This is my jurisdiction! Officer Lang took a deep breath and stepped forward. Ma'am, HOA rules are not laws, Karen looked genuinely offended, as if he'd just insulted her family lineage. They are binding agreements. Even if that were true, Lang continued. You can't call 911 because you don't like who lives in someone else's home. That's not why I called, Karen yelled, though everyone, including the dozen spectators pretending to water their lawns, knew it was exactly why. You said she was violent, Claire reminded her. Karen sputtered, eyes widening. Well, she looks violent. That's profiling, Patel muttered under his breath. Elena took a slow step toward Karen, not threateningly, just with the composed authority that came naturally to her. Ma'am, do you understand that making a false emergency report is a serious offense? Karen's face blanched. I didn't make a false report. I reported a situation I believed was dangerous. Dangerous how? Elena asked. By your own admission. I walked into my own home. She didn't fill out the forms, Karen said weakly. You called 911 over a missing form? Elena asked. Well, when you say it like that, that is exactly what you did, Elena said. Officer Lang stepped in gently. Ma'am, we need to talk to you about the misuse of emergency services. This could carry penalties and fines. It could even go on your record, Patel added. Karen's clipboard slipped in her grasp. My record? Yes, Lang said. You can't use 911 to enforce HOA rules. You can't invent threats. And you can't accuse someone of trespassing in their own home, but I'm the HOA president, Karen whispered, voice cracking under the crumble of her authority. And she, Claire said calmly, motioning to Elena, is the head of the state police. The murmuring from the neighbors swelled. More faces appeared at windows. Someone across the street whispered, Oh, she's done for. Karen stared at Elena as if seeing her for the first time. You're that Captain Ruiz? The one from the news? The very same, Elena confirmed. Karen staggered back a step. Oh no, yes, Elena said gently. Oh no. Officer Patel took Karen by the elbow with surprising kindness. Come on, ma'am. Let's go over here and discuss this. We'll explain what the proper use of emergency services is. It's okay, Lang added. We're not arresting you today. But there are consequences. You need to understand. Karen's lower lip quivered. Consequences. For the false report, yes. As Karen was guided toward the sidewalk, she cast a helpless look back at Claire, as though hoping for mercy, but Claire simply gave her a tight, sympathetic smile. Drama queen Karen had finally met a stage too big for her. Elena stepped beside Claire, sliding an arm around her waist. Claire leaned into her, relief loosening the tightness in her shoulders. You okay? Elena asked. I should be asking you that, Claire said, watching Karen wilt like an overwatered houseplant. Elena shrugged. I've had tougher days. Though this might be the most ridiculous call I've technically ever been involved in. That's saying something, Claire said. They stood together as the officers patiently explained the law to Karen, who nodded rapidly, wringing her hands, occasionally throwing frantic glances at the gathering spectators. The neighbors pretended to mind their own business, but the air buzzed with whispered commentary and amused shock. Think she'll recover from this? Claire asked. Oh, she'll try, Elena said, smirking. But the legend of today? This neighborhood will be telling it for decades. Karen's voice drifted over from the sidewalk. I didn't know. How was I supposed to know? Patel replied. Ma'am, you could have just asked. Claire chuckled. She didn't want to ask. She wanted a power trip. Elena took another sip of coffee. Well, the crash landing is impressive. They watched as Karen's shoulders drooped further with every passing second. The Queen of Maple Ridge had been dethroned, not by rebellion, but by her own spectacular misjudgment. When the officers finally let her go, Karen trudged away in defeat, clipboard dangling at her side, hair disheveled, muttering about misunderstandings and bylaws. Elena nudged Claire. Let's go inside, before someone else decides to enforce lawn height regulations. Claire laughed, opened the door, and took her wife's hand. Welcome home, Captain. Elena kissed her forehead. Always good to be back. Behind them, the neighborhood hummed with gossip, but the Donovans simply stepped into their house, closing the door on the chaos. A united front no HOA rule could ever break.